It's Morning Coffee and Conversation with me, Jen Snow, your clinical hypnotherapist, your soul regression coach, and more, Reiki master, and all that good stuff. So today's Friday, and it is eclipse season. I know. Good morning, Alex. Good morning. It's eclipse. It's Friday the 5th, right? So we're all in this space of this eclipse, and I'm not an astrologist. I don't do I know about numerology, and I know bits and bits about astrology, but I'm not like I'm not the guy you go to. I know a little bit, and I am learning. And I know that this past week has been a week of discombobulation, a big week of discombobulation, and part of that is as we go into these eclipses season, we're in eclipse season, we're in Mercury retrograde, which I personally love retrograde. I know a lot of us don't because it puts everything backwards and things get stalled. But I think that if we change our mindset around the retrogrades and we kind of just allow ourselves to be in flow with it, it actually works out a lot better. And things that were meant to happen more easily when we're not trying to force it. When we're not trying to force the outcome, things can happen a little more easily. And what I mean by that, and this is totally not where I was going today, but this is where we're going. It's that kind of day. What do I mean by that? Stop forcing things. We all have a plan. I'm a Capricorn. And if any of you have ever heard the description of Capricorn, I just realized that my bun is super sideways, but that's okay because it's Friday. We were out most of the night with a pup, and this is literally what I look like when I roll out of bed. Like, seriously, I'm not gonna lie. Because I missed my alarm this morning because we had just fallen asleep, and I was like, we're late. So yeah, this is it. This is all, yeah. But trying not to force it. This morning's a perfect example because one of our pups wasn't well. We were out with her most of the night, and normally I would not go to sleep because I would be like, making sure that I'm here for the show and like we're on it. But I just kind of gave myself permission. I'm like, you know what? Get the couple hours. If you wake up at your alarm, perfect. If you don't, then it's okay. Like, you can shift things around a little bit. And it relieves the stress. Oh my God. And the stress was like I was so worried. And normally I would worry and I wouldn't sleep. Like I said, I would think about I have a brain that can be very overactive. I have a brain that can be nonstop, and my brain and I have this habit of looking at a situation and attempting to see every possible outcome or avenue or direction before making a decision. Now, that is beneficial and not beneficial because you can get stuck pretty easily. And one of the things that I have discovered is that after I've done my thing, I step back. I'm like, okay, whatever the flow is going to be, it's going to be. So I stopped trying to force things. I stopped trying to force things down the avenue that I perceive to be the easiest avenue, because sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes they're not the easiest avenue. Sometimes they're actually the ones that are most difficult. But if I had just been a little more patient, a little more at ease, a little more in flow with the idea that I was going to see the direction and find the path that really was meant for me versus the one that I'm trying to create for myself, that everything kind of falls into place without a lot of muscle on my end. Not saying that I don't have to be in action. I'm just like not having to like try and, fit that square peg into a round hole and muscle it through that hole, and watch the edges get damaged. So it's not really fitting, but it fits. So it works, like good enough. Right. And when we get into that forcing space, we get into that spot where things sometimes if we just step back and observed and witnessed the whole picture and the whole scenery, we would be able to see that everything is actually happening in sequence. And if we can participate in that sequence, we will gain the end results that we're looking for without having to interrupt the process and trying to create, fix something that isn't broke per se. And that doesn't mean we don't have input. That doesn't mean we just have to blindly walk away and like, oh, it'll happen. I mean, maybe, yeah, maybe not. Staying in action is definitely being a part of the process and being connected to the process and allowing yourself to understand the process, but not always in the space of needing to control the process. And that was a hard life lesson for me. I'm not going to lie. I like to control things. I used to like really try to have all my ducks, and I was exhausted all the time because you're constantly, good morning, purple princess. How are you? Yeah, I was exhausted all the time. I was tired because I'm trying to control every ball in the air. And most of them weren't even mine. But you know what? If I knew it was my trauma response, if I knew how everything was going to land, then I could figure out how I was going to react to it. Not respond, but react. So I used to try and force things. Or when I was, 28, a while ago. Oh, yeah, I have to confess. This is not coffee. I know it's morning coffee in conversation with me. I just took a sip expecting it to be coffee, and it's not. It is apple cider vinegar and hot water for gut health. I do this before I had coffee, and because my morning was late, this is what we're drinking today. I personally like it. I don't dislike it. Oh, that would be a different show. I have not had a drink in a long time, and so I've been a lightweight for a lot of years. And hey, welcome, man. And if I had one, woo, yeah. I used to be like a good drinker. I used to have quite a tolerance, and now not so much. One drink, and I'd be like, woo, here we go. I'd probably dance on the table. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a very shy person once but yeah, no, fucking no. I promise it's apple cider vinegar. If I get the puckered face because I got a good gulp of apple cider vinegar, but it kind of reminds me in a weird, odd way of those, those apple cider hot drinks that you have at the wintertime or you get at winter fairs. And I love those. This is just that minus the sugar. And I'm glad it's minus the sugar. I'm not going to lie because, yeah, sugar and I are just becoming less and less friends, which is kind of fun. But the withdrawal of sugar is not okay. It's a lot some days. And I don't eat a lot of sugar anyhow, but when you do, you get in those little moments where you have a little blip in time. You're like, oh, this 5-cent candy is so good. And then you realize 2 days later, you're like, yeah, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. And so you have to get off of it. So this is one of my attempts to help with my gut health. And also kind of have a drink that reminds me of something that I enjoy in the wintertime. I know it's summer and it's like 32 degrees, but it's not bad. It doesn't make me want to gag. Let's see that. I'm down 12 pounds. Good job. Keto. Oh, you know what? Freaking love keto. I really love keto. I love how I feel when I do keto. I try to do a couple days a week where it's keto, a very, very strict keto. Love it. Love it. I actually got onto keto without actually thinking about getting onto keto. I mean, I was fully aware of it. I have a weight management program that is a gastric band program for hypnotherapy. And I took this way back when I graduated. And I decided I would that was my actually first attempt at a niche. My first attempt at a niche. No. I never did the shakes. I actually just went to vegetables and protein. Nothing in between. And when I was doing the gastric band, I mean, that stuff, I wasn't never, I knew it would work, but I wondered. And I was doing a lot of it in the beginning. And all of a sudden, I found myself eating a keto diet without consciously thinking about it. But when I was making my lunches and my dinners and stuff like that, I totally just ended up being clean eating. And I lost so much. I lost a lot of weight, but I also found that as I was doing this program for my clients, that without intentionally hypnotizing myself, that program was sinking into my brain. And it was fantastic. A couple months later, I was like, what just happened? And but I love keto eating. I love how I feel. I'm not as strict with it as people who are fully on board with it. And the keto snacks are pretty good, actually. There's a Melody at Costco that's keto, and it's nuts and granola and coconut oil. It's delicious. But yeah, no, it's a good, it definitely works. So congratulations on getting that done and doing it. And you got this. Yeah. Mine is the one thing I do is, I drink the apple cider vinegar. And I actually don't eat in the morning for 4 hours after waking. Walker, you're fine. He's sitting at the door whining. Yeah, that's my one thing outside of intermittent fasting, because I do a lot of intermittent fasting. I really like the fasting side of things. But I don't, the first 4 hours, I don't eat. So it gives my body's ability to kind of get going, and the blood sugars that my body's going to excrete and like put into my system not be added with foods that, any kind of food. So I do that 4 hours, and I really like that 4 hours. So that's been my jam these last couple months, where not in the attempt to lose weight, but just to kind of feel better and feel like I love my body. And I like I said on a show, I started working out, and my motivation wasn't a bikini anymore. It was about just being healthy and being comfortable with being me. And that really changed the inspiration and motivation around that. It says 13 pounds I lost, step on a scale the first time when I thought I weighed more than I did. Yeah. Actually, what's funny? Purple Princess, it's always my mom who notices. I don't notice, but my mom always is like, hey, what are you doing? And I always get the, hey, are you eating? And I'm like, yeah, I'm eating. Because for some reason, when I was in high school, I worked really hard at slimming, trimming, and getting fit and strong and ripped. And everybody thought I wasn't eating. I was just doing keto back in the day that wasn't keto. But kind of like how it's funny, when keto came out and became a thing, I used to do that in high school. That was my like high school jam. Like, but it's not keto as it is now. It's more like the brightly eating, where you have like fruits and vegetables, but only the reds and blues, so they're low glycemic. And my favorite mid-morning breakfast, I was Cool Whip, Greek yogurt whipped together with strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, and pineapple, because by that time I'd already run probably 10K, and pineapple was really great enzyme to help the body recover from extreme working out. And so I did that way back in the day, and I looked like a bodybuilder, not intentionally, because I was not a bodybuilder. But yeah, so now that's always my mom's question. Did you eat? I hit the weight that I am not. My body gets, I know nobody wants to hear this, but the cold plunging really helps with that. And I know because the reason I started, yes, you can tell I had no sleep last night. I can swell 30 pounds in half an hour. It's a talent. And it happens. It used to happen a lot when I was really struggling with my kidneys. I know. Can you hear me now? See, this internet, I gotta tell you, telling us we're fighting. It might be actually Starlink that we're fighting with. I'm not gonna lie, Elon Musk, if you hear me, your product to my house, it needs a little help. Along with TELUS, though. TELUS is just as bad. So I need somebody to step up and have a good internet connection here. So, yeah, like I started the cold plungings because I really found that swollen weight was really hard, and it was really hard on my psyche. It was hard on my body. My legs would get really like to the point where I couldn't bend my knees. And I just, that's how I found cold plunging. But I also found that it really helped with my circulation, and it really helped with the swelling. And in the heat now, for whatever reason, I'm not saying there's science behind this, so don't believe me, don't do anything. Talk to your doctor first. But in the heat, when it gets really hot, I notice that I do not swell as much. So that may or may not help, but yeah. Yeah, and we only have to do 11 minutes a week. And that 11 minutes, it seems like a lot, but it's 11 minutes over a week. It's not 11 minutes a day. No, they're still whining. But congratulations, Purple Plunge. You got this. You got this. You're going to do this. And it's going to be great. It's going to be easy. It's going to be super, super easy. I'm so excited for you. So, not forcing things. Think about, when you think about your life, how many times have we tried to force something and it just didn't work out? It just didn't line up. And it wasn't that it wasn't meant to be. It was just we kind of misdirected something that was meant to happen in a different take. I'm going to just give me 2 seconds. I'm going to let the puppy out. And then you'll know I do have pants on. Just saying. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I got flower pants on today. So, yeah, when we were on the coast this last couple of days, and he discovered that when I was working, my dad would leave the door open downstairs to the backyard. So he now has this expectation that the door will be open all the time. It won't be, but he thinks he's pretty cool. I'll have to blame Grandpa for that one. But yeah, not getting into that space of force. And learning to communicate with yourself. We've talked about this so many times, the conversation, the communication. But when we're making changes, we kind of have to think about where we're at and what pieces and parts of us, what belief systems. Yeah, I know, Alex, it's crazy, are standing in your way, and have that little conversation with them and start coaching them in a different direction. And what I mean by coaching them is utilizing your tools of connection with yourself and just changing the story, changing the conversation, changing the words that you're implementing in your body and in your physical reality. And this takes a little bit of time, but the more we change our conversation, the more we change our story, whatever that story is. And most of us don't know what our story is because we unconsciously share it with ourselves every day over and over again. How many times have you told yourself the same old thing, but you're not really aware of what you're saying? You just say it because it's your habit. It's a habit that has become your story, that has become your conversation. And how many of your stories line up with the person that you want to be and the person that you are creating? 9 times out of 10, we don't line up with ourselves. I used to be that guy. I mean, I even have moments now where I'm like, magic eraser, because my mind can wander. And it can go back to old patterns and old connections and old thought and belief systems. And I just have to make sure that if I get caught in that story, that I erase and redefine it. I shift it into the story that it is. Or a simple question you can ask yourself, is this my reality now? Unless you're actually in the thick of it, you're going to say no to yourself. And that also helps reconnect your subconscious mind that that's not your current reality, that's not your present moments, and that's not where you need to live. And that's not where you need to create from. That's not the vibration and the energy that you are imprinting upon your physical body from your mental, emotional, vibrational body into your physical reality. Because when we talk about attraction, we talk about law of attraction, we talk about manifesting, we manifest what we are. Inside, not outside. Because we can be a lot of things in the outside world, but it's that internal space that is the one creating what tone and frequency and vibration we are bringing into our reality and that reality of creation. So when you're making changes, when you're trying to force something, you are in a space of forcing. You're in a vibration of force. Force is not always, force and will are very different. And force can come from a low vibration, a negativity, because it represents, in some, depending on how you look at it, and again, your perception matters, not mine. But when we get to forcing something, we get into a lack and scarcity, an opportunity for failure, or because there is a doubt there is a belief system there is an idea, a thought there that this isn't going to happen. So now I have to force it because somewhere deep inside my energetic being, my psyche, I believe that this is not going to make it. And so when you recognize that, tapping into that piece of your psyche, that piece of your energetic self that believes or thinks or has an idea that it's not going to make it or not happen, and redefine and rewrite that. So that part of you, that piece of your personality, becomes a part of the knowingness that it is happening, that it's happened, and now you're just realizing and actualizing it into the material world because it's already happened in the energetic world. It's already happened in your mind. You've imagined it. And now the door's open for it to be returned to you, multiplied, without barriers, without restrictions, without control and force, and letting it just come into your world exactly how it was always meant to. So that's why force is probably, I believe, one of the biggest dampeners when it comes to our law of attraction abilities, our abilities and intuitive and innate abilities to create from source, from universe, from creation, and actually utilize that alchemy of bringing things from vibration into physical reality. As we get in our way, we have these belief systems, we have these ideas, we have these programs, these limited belief systems that say it's not possible. And they're not always loud. Sometimes they're soft and quiet. Sometimes they're just playing in the background. And they're not actually really a part of your conscious space, but there's an emotion there, there's a feeling there, there's an idea, there's a thought, a belief, a program. Maybe it's not even yours. Maybe it's generational. Maybe it's a part of your lineage. And that has been imprinted upon you the moment that you connected with your parents in this world and their history, their family history. Because family history, I know it's not talked about, and I will do a show on it, but our generational history does affect us. And it does imprint upon us because we're impressionable when we're young, and we adapt and absorb and we create as we are, in these early informative years. And those become a part of us. Now, they don't always stay with us because we do learn to change, and we do learn what to wear and what not to wear. We do learn what works and doesn't work for us. But if we're not conscious of that, then we can get into this unconscious flow of creating life from there. And that doesn't always line up with where we were meant to go. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually Kona. That's the old girl. She's got vocals, chords on anything and everything that moves in the world. Yeah, she's been like that since she was born. That girl, when we got her, she loves to go and let everybody know she's here, and you might be crossing into her space because apparently the neighbors, well, it's her land too, right? She thinks she owns everything. But you know what? It's funny is she's very sweet when she'll bark and do crazy things, but then she'll be like, "Oh, hello! I need to lick your tonsils." So it's a little bit of a facade with her, and you see her tail going like this. And my neighbors walk their dogs, and they talk to her, and so she gets louder. Walker hasn't really figured out barking yet. Walker has this howl, growl. And it's the funniest thing because I call it buffing because he doesn't really fully bark. But it sounds really like it's this funny. Oh, yeah, he's trying. But Rottweilers actually are really typically quiet, and I didn't know that because I've always had mastiffs and bull mastiffs and bulldogs and Italian mastiff, and they're not really loud dogs. They aren't loud, but I never knew about doing a little more research on the Rottweiler breed and finding out the really closeness of them in the sense that they are probably the quirkiest dog I've ever met. And it seems that the quirky traits seem to run through their lines. And it's funny because I think it's so unique, and I start researching. I'm like, oh, this is a part of you. So when we're talking about generational traits and generational belief systems, those things can cross over into us and how we carry them, how we express them. We do it in our own unique way, but at the core of them, at the very essence and presence of them, they are generational. And so sometimes if you don't connect with the belief system, you're like, I don't know where this came from. A good question to ask is this mine? Is this generational? Is this on the maternal, parental, paternal, side? How many generations back? And you'll start to get these answers, and you can actually unwind those links in a way that going forward, that it releases that lesson that the generations have imprinted upon each other. And one of the coolest, I'm going to talk about now because it's actually the coolest thing. When I was working with somebody, we were in a past life, but this person was normally a full regression person, so which means that they see the life through their own eyes. Partial regressions, when you kind of hover above and you watch it like a movie, and they were partially regressed because they were kind of watching it like a movie. Because we had worked together, I knew that was different. I'm like, oh, that's new. So I just kind of made note of it, and we went through a little bit, and this person was just not really connected to the life, not connected to the person he was watching, just more like observing. And so I asked this question. I said, is this your past life? And it was no. And I said, is this a generational life? And yes. Perfect. So I asked that person to take us to the moment of impact and significance in that life. And we ended up in this, I want to say it was like 1600s, mid 1600s. And on this beautiful farm, I think it was Scotland. This farm had been in the family for several years, but they had come on some pretty hard times. And so there was, this belief system that they were cursed and that somebody had did that. So they reacted to that thinking that they were right. So we kind of went back to that moment, but because the person I was working with wasn't actually a part of that life, they weren't emotionally connected to that life. They were only connected to the emotions that seeded the generations forward. And so what we did is we did some healing around that. We did some healing with the souls that were a part of that life. We did some healing through, and that person also did their own healing because they were connected in that emotional thread and vibration, frequency, and belief system, and bringing all the souls that were involved in the event. And they were able to utilize the physical person's incarnation in this life. And they were able to work through and clear that energy without having to come back to Earth, relive the pattern, and go through a similar life again. So it was really neat. And then we did I used my techniques to screen and, release the negativity of that life that had carried forward and everything attached to it. And when we came back, and those souls had finished their process of healing, they it was really neat because they were very thankful. There's a lot of gratitude for that in that moment, for the person that was in this incarnation, in this reality, holding space for them to, and both even non-family member souls were there because they were a part of the event. And so they all needed clearing and healing around it. And we went back to the super consciousness, and the super consciousness, the purpose was so that generation pattern could be released fully and completely, and things could be resolved. The conflicts could be healed. The karma could be now balanced, and all this stuff. And how we don't realize that sometimes the stuff that we carry, the things that we imprint, we hold dear to us, isn't really ours, and it has nothing to do with any incarnation that we came from. But being a physical, tangible presence on Mother Earth, we can hold space to heal those past conflicts and traumas for our lineage and our generational ancestors, and for those coming into this lineage now, because some people, coming in to be a part of our lineage don't necessarily want to take on or need to take on the old patterns, but because it gets our DNA, our coding gets imprinted, it's all there. We can access it depending on our experience and our situation, our life, and how we perceive our life in this generation. Things get turned on, maybe that and activated that weren't meant to be activated, but they're there and they're dormant, and then they become active. So it was a really cool past life, and since that life, I've seen a lot of that, and apparently that wasn't like something that was really happening a lot in the hypnotherapy regression world, but it is now, and it's super neat. So it's kind of cool the places that we can go and the things that we can do when we open our minds and we allow ourselves to be in flow, when we get outside of the world of that's the way it is because it is. And I know a lot of people like that, and I get that that's their journey, and I understand it. But it doesn't always have to be that way. And sometimes seeing the potential for creating shifts in your life is just stepping back and looking at things and going, what is stopping my brilliance? What's stopping my potential? And going into this lunar eclipse, it's all about letting go of the stuff, letting go of the stuff holding you back and the shadows coming forward. So bringing this all around, if you guys are noticing all these next days that you are running into obstacles that are like, oh my God, I've been dealing with this for years. Remember that this is a really great time to sit down, do a little meditation, do a little self-work, little self-actualization, and giving yourself permission to shift that it once was held within you, and shift it into something that is now going to promote and support, encourage you moving forward and reaching the version of yourself that is unlocked, and that is living and creating your brilliance and your wisdom, your knowledge, and remembering who you are at the core of you, and bringing the core of you into this world confidently, in flow and balance and harmony, and just enjoying the go of it. So the lunar eclipse, there's a lot of energy. So if you're on the other side and you're really feeling just bogged down and like, take a moment to step back. What is it that bogs you down? What is bogging you down? What does that look like for you? What is the story that it is connected to? Where do you hold that? What does it feel like? What emotions are there? And are you ready to shift that? Because this is an opportunity, because the veil is thin and the vibration is high, that we can easily shift and release energies that don't vibrate where we want to be, in flow a little bit faster, a little bit more quickly on all levels, physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. Energetically, it's always quick, but the physical part, this is an opportunity. This is a window for your physical body to release quickly and adapt quickly and softly and gently and perfectly, without a lot of interruption or a lot of time in space in between. So unless you want the time and space in between, because that's totally up to you. All right. So cheers, everybody. Thank you for being here. We will be back live on Monday night for Monday meditations. And I have set up a Patreon account, and just learning all about that. So those links and everything will be in the bio, and we will be working with that as well. But I want to thank you for being here on the weeks that I do the coast. I have really realized that I get very, life never is in the fast lane down in the city, and sessions go over. So the weeks that I'm on the coast, I'm not going to book any shows, because I had 2 shows booked, and I just ended up going hours over with work and didn't have an opportunity to get back online because I was exhausted. So I've learned my lesson. I'm going to stay true to that lesson. So I will let you guys know on the coast, those weeks there won't be shows, or those days, because I'm making shorter trips. But outside of that, we will be back on Monday, and we're going to be here for Tuesday night group. You know what? Those of you who want to join me, you still can. It is about connecting with the part of you. And this month, we're working with connecting to the part of you that is in charge of your body, the part of you that's in charge of your mind, the part of you in charge of your emotions, being like your emotional being, and the part of you that's in charge of your vibrational being. So we're really opening up these conversations in these groups, and we're doing one-on-one work as a group, and it's pretty awesome. So if you do, let me know, send me a message. the link. You can sign up at blendedconnections.com, and it is the May 2023 group Tuesday night class. It's a beautiful group of souls that come and we work together. There's a little bit of sharing. There's a lot of deep meditation, hypnosis, and work. So this classes work. I started out with just wanting it to be a place where people could come and rest, and somehow, in my own fashion, has transmuted to what we do in the one-on-one work in a group setting, and so that it's an easy way to begin your own journey of connection. So thank you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And Alex, Purple Princess, thank you for being here. Thank you for your amazing support. Much love. And we will see you next week. Woo, woo, doo, doo, doo.